Hey chatters, it's Joe, the CEO of Synaptic Labs. Happy to have you here. If it's your first time, welcome. We have taught thousands of folks how to use AI responsibly and practically, and are also the creators of the Professor Synapse prompt, which has over 100,000 uses on the GPT store. Today we're going to be going over how to use connectors in Claude. I will say I'm a Claude guy. It's definitely my preferred tool. And one of the main reasons is because they give you such full control over connectors. So you're going to see in a minute, there is a connector store, which is the most robust that you can hook tools up to, but you can also pretty easily make your own and either have them local or host them up on the cloud somewhere and call into them. For those of you who don't know what connectors are, they are more or less a toolbox you can hand over to these large language models, and then they can use those tools to fulfill your request as they see fit. So you don't have to be like, hey, go read this document. You can say, hey, can you go find this and read it and then summarize it for me and then draft a reply to an email to this person, then look at my calendar to find some time and blah, 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 blah. And it can just be like, okay, I have all these tools. I need to string the tools together this way. Okay, I've done all that stuff. Oop, I made a mistake. I see the error. Let me try again. Okay, I fixed it. It just gives you a way to have more agentic forms of interacting with this technology where it can really take actions on your behalf rather than just talking to you. So the first thing we're going to want to do is go find out where these connectors are. So what we need to do is come over to your username and we're going to go to settings. Something I want to mention is that I'm using the desktop app because this allows you to have those local custom connectors, but you don't need to do that. You can obviously put your connectors up on the cloud somehow or use a tool like N8N to set up a connector of however you want as a no-code solution. So once we get into settings, you want to come down to this connectors. This might have changed by the time you watch this, but there should be something like connectors or apps or something like that. And you're going to see here we have a list of possible connectors that it recommends, which we'll connect to in a second. But if we scroll down all the way to the bottom, we're also going to see we have this browse connectors and add custom connectors. If we go to browse connectors, you're going to see the full list of connectors that you can hook up to. And if we click into any of these, which I'll do in a second, you'll see the sorts of tools you can use. So maybe you want to hook up your Fireflies, right? This is a transcription tool. And you can see here the tools that it has. It can get a user, get a transcript, get multiple transcripts, and will allow you to talk to your transcripts more or less. But there's a lot of these and all of them are going to have different applications, allow you to do different things. So definitely go check these out. Hopefully some of them are fairly useful to you. Just to keep things simple, we're going to hook up within the Google ecosystem. So we're going to start with Gmail. I'm going to go to connect. And you're going to see here, it's going to tell you what it can do. It's giving you the warning. Something to keep in mind is if it goes and search your emails, right, and it takes that in, like it's going to see, okay, here's your emails, it's reading that email. So make sure that you have on your settings turned off the share your data with Claude, and also make sure if there is sensitive information that is you're pulling up from those emails that you don't want ever getting out there, that you're deleting your conversations after you have them so that information doesn't get saved anywhere. But let's hook this up. I'm going to go to continue. It brought me to the online version, so I'll hit continue again. We're going to hook into my Gmail, and we can see now it has connected to my Gmail. So we're just going to connect it to that for now, and then let's go back to the chats. So now that I'm back in the chat, we can go to this search and tools. And if I click this, again, this might have changed by the time you use this, but you're going to see here, we now have all of my connectors that I have set up. For example, I made one myself that hooks up to HubSpot, but we can see Gmail search is actually turned off. So let's turn that on. And then I'm just going to say, can you tell me what your Gmail tool can do? So something I want to mention is these providers aren't always super clear on what these connectors can actually do. Your best bet is to just ask the AI what the tool can do, what options it has. What we don't see in the back end is that like we have our system prompts and things we're prompting, but the AI also sees when you turn on this connector, all of the different tools that it actually has access to. So we can see here, it's fairly limited in terms of what it can do. And this is by design. So it can read a profile, it can read messages, it can read a thread, it can read a single message. So it can read, but it can't access attachments, it can't see metadata, and it can't draft emails or anything like that, right? And this again is by design for security, because if you let it like draft or send emails on your behalf, what if it screws up, right? This technology can be over ambitious. It really wants to be helpful. So it might send an email accidentally that you didn't ask it to send. And obviously Claude already has enough lawsuits going on that it doesn't want more lawsuits going on. So at least for now, in terms of the store, when you go through, I think you're going to find almost all the tools are more or less a read-only tool. It's just going to let you search and read information. It's not going to actually let you change things, update them, create new things. And so this is a limitation, but also why Claude is so great is you can make your own, like I said. So if you're willing to take on that risk, or you want to engineer something that's going to work more reliably, you do have that option. Okay, let's see if this actually works. So I emailed myself earlier with a subject line, super secret password with a password in it. So I'm going to ask it to go search and tell me what it is. I actually kind of also want to see if it refuses, right? Is it going to come back with, oh, sorry, I can't tell you passwords. But you can see here it's using its tool, and we can see exactly what it's doing. It searched for messages, and it found that message, that email. It said, let me read it, and it read it. And now it's saying, I found an email with super secret password. However, the email body only contains an email signature with contact information and social media links. There's no password mentioned. Interesting. What does the body of the email say? Let's see if it can read it. There we go. Again, with these tools, you got to be like fairly specific. It's getting better and better, but it doesn't always understand what you're trying to ask. And again, I put the password in the email. It read that as just like a name or a title, Professor Synops, not an actual password. And so it got a little confused. And so this is lesson learned, right? And why, again, you don't let it like send emails on your behalf or whatever, because if it misunderstands and takes action, that can cause problems for you. So it did what it was supposed to do, but again, you're fairly limited in terms of what you can do with the sort of normal connectors you can hook up to through Claude. But let's actually put our own in here and see how it works. So there's two ways to do this, right? Again, to create your own connector. I have coded up my own. This is actually open source. You can check it out. To hook up to your HubSpot, there is some setup, right? You need to get like your super secret password for HubSpot and hook it into here. But this has several different tools it can use. And what I'm doing is I'm just having Claude call into this little server that I've spun up that's hosting my code. So what you can do is you're going to get some sort of web address, right? For that remote server you've set up, you'll go to add custom connector and you'll put in the name and the remote MCP server URL. And then you can set up OAuth, essentially a password protected sign-in that you can have so that people can't steal your stuff. And so if we come back to new chat, we can tell it's connected again because I have this HubSpot symbol right here. And if I click into it, you're gonna see I have all these different tool sets that it can use. It can do stuff with lists, it can create blog posts, it can set up properties, it can do all kinds of fun stuff. So let's try it out. I'm gonna say use HubSpot to create a blog post on how to use connectors in Claude. Do your research first. Okay, let's see how it does. I'm hoping it'll have an error so I can show you we'll see how well I coded this thing. But first it's going to use just its normal search the web tool. It's gotten its information. It's going to do a little bit more searching. And now it's using its HubSpot blog post tool. And what it's doing here is it's filling out what's called a JSON schema. It's saying, okay, our operations create. I have it fill out some additional information so it knows what it's doing. And it's created the name of the blog and it's starting to output what's called HTML. This is how we, in online land, format things. It's writing this up, so let's give it a second. I think it's actually going to screw up because it needed some additional information, so hopefully we'll get to show you that error. Yep, and you can see it did the error here because it needed essentially like an ID, a code. what allows it to put the blog up in a certain area of HubSpot. So we can see here what it did was it used a different tool now to list all the options it has. And now it has the code that it needs to fill out. And so now it's going to go rewrite the blog. Okay, great success. And it even gave me the URL to go to. So let's go check out the blog. Okay, I am in our HubSpot blogs, and we can see we now have this how to use connectors in Claude. And we can go down, and you're going to see it should be very nicely formatted for us. Again, that's that HTML. And I didn't have to come into HubSpot and do any of this stuff. So there you go. Maybe I'll review and post this blog. So I'm not going to show it in this video, but the easiest way to have your own remote connectors is to use a low-code tool like N8N. You can check out our ChatGPT connectors video to see how I did that in N8N, for example. And it's the same idea here, where if we add a custom connector, again, you just name it, you put in that URL where the server is through N8N or whatever, and you'll get the tool set that you've created through that trigger. So I hope you can see the power of connectors, and particularly again with Claude, the ultimate flexibility of you being able to build your own connectors and do whatever you want with them. It's pretty ridiculous. If you want us to build you connectors, we've gotten really good at this now. So as long as something has an API, a bridge to that service, we can build you a connector for it. So definitely reach out to us. And I would also highly recommend to check out the link to our free AI readiness report. You can just fill out a few questions and it'll give you some strategy around how you can best implement AI for your industry, service, whatever it might be. That's totally free. And then also it's going to come with a coupon to get one of our AI enhanced workflows from our Flows marketplace. So definitely check that out. Thanks as always for spending your time with me, and really try out these connectors. They really are game changers.